Hey all, here at OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the DBPOWER EX7000 PRO. This is a 4K action camera that has a 2.4-inch touchscreen display, and it's priced at around $120 to $140 on Amazon. So it's definitely not cheap, but compared to other versions that have a touchscreen and also is capable of 4K video recording, I would say it's a fair price to pay. I would say a close competitor would be Xiaomi's Mijia action camera that's also 4K, also has a capacitive screen. I think that having a touchscreen is a pretty big upgrade compared to previous generation action cameras, just because fumbling around with controls and menus with keys isn't quite as intuitive as just navigating around and pinching in and out of images with your fingers. However, one benefit of having keys would be that it's easier to use in extreme circumstances where you don't have access to the display immediately, if you're wearing gloves, if you're doing sports, things like that. Alright, so this is what the packaging is like. You can see some basic specs on the side: 170-degree wide-angle lens, 16-megapixel sensor produced by Sony, and inside we have the quick setup guide as well as an instruction manual. I feel like this is one of the instances where DBPOWER is putting a lot more thought and consideration into the presentation of their devices. There's also a complimentary app that you can download for iOS and Android if you don't want to record videos directly using the camera. You can control it using your phone. Packaging contents are always plentiful with action cameras, and this is no exception. There's even additional bumpers and cases for the action cam in case something gets damaged, like the door with a rubber seal. Since it is 30 meters waterproof, you can take it scuba diving and then capture underwater footage. There's a microfiber cleaning cloth, all types of attachments for putting onto helmets and for bikes, things like that. And there's also a spare battery that you get in case the one that's included runs out. The one that is included has been pre-installed by default and comes in at 1,100 milliamp hours, and it also charges using micro USB. Furthermore, you can charge two batteries at the same time. If you don't want to charge it when plugged into the camera, you can remove it and put it onto this charging cradle, which is another fairly unique accessory. Alright, so setting everything off to the side and taking a look just at the action camera here. Again, it is attached to the waterproof case by default, and we can pull on a tab on the side here to release the mechanism and take out the camera. The camera itself is made primarily out of a polycarbonate plastic, but overall feels pretty well put together. And again, we have access to that 2.45-inch capacitive IPS LCD display. DBPOWER is also moving towards minimalism with the design. Instead of on previous generation cameras where we saw multiple keys, one for power, one for beginning to record video, everything has been consolidated to just one button, and that is on the very top. I can long hold for a few seconds to turn the camera on, and once the camera is turned on, I can just simply tap once to begin recording video or taking an image. So there is a move towards putting a lot more attention to detail compared to first generation cameras we've seen from this company 2 to 3 years ago. So that's a nice progression. The body of the camera is made out of this hard plastic material. I do wish it was made out of soft touch just because that will absorb shock a little bit better, but it does provide a nice texture for you to hold it if you don't want to put it into the case. There's a speaker/microphone on the side, and there is a rubber flap that covers up the charging doors for the micro USB and micro HDMI for connecting to a larger display. On the bottom there is a standard tripod and a little door that you can flip open to reveal the battery compartment that also has the micro SD card slot sitting on this little edge. Overall, it works quite well. The top here also features another speaker and some LED lights that will tell you the status of the camera. When it's flashing, it means it's started to record video. What I like here is that the interface of the camera is very simple. Like I said, it's a lot more intuitive with the touchscreen built on in, and this one is highly sensitive, easy to use, and again, the screen has wide viewing angles. The only downside, as aforementioned, without any physical keys is, again, if you put it into the case, it may be a bigger challenge to actually hit on things. You can still record video with the shutter key, but it's harder to change things like settings and to view back your images immediately. From here though, we do have the ability to toggle back and forth between different types of images that we want to take, like a photo lapse, a sequence, slow motion, things like that. Tapping on the settings here, I can change the resolution from 16 megapixel to something lower. Furthermore, I can also change things like the power on and off settings, as well as toggle between the sound, the beep sound. I can turn this off if I find it annoying. screensaver, image rotation, and firmware information. I can also swipe left and right on this page here to switch into taking videos. So that was photos. This one is the video taking mode, and under here I can actually find a few more settings that are more practical, such as the WDR stabilization, which is electronic. I can turn this on or off. It actually does help quite a bit. There's also motion detection, so if you're using this as a security camera, it will automatically begin recording when motion is detected. I can also turn on loop recording if I'm using this in my car as again, an action or security camera, so I can change kind of the purpose of this device, whether I want to use it for only sports or if I want to also use it for security footage purposes. So that's pretty nice. I can also drag down from the top in this gesture here to turn on things like Wi-Fi. So if I can tap on that once to turn on the wireless information, and that will allow me to connect this to a smartphone, and again using my phone as a viewfinder for interacting with taking images and videos, so on and so forth. This also allows me to connect to an optional remote, which can be paired using Bluetooth. And to unlock it, all I need to do is tap on the key there. There's also the power status from the top there. So that's additional things I can navigate. Finally, there is time remaining. So based on your memory card, this is how long you've started to record your video. This is how long that is left in the storage. And this is the battery status in the top right-hand corner. I can tap on Playback to look at footage that I've recorded already on the device or stored onto the memory card. And it's actually pretty easy to use. Again, the screen does offer some pretty generous viewing angles. It's easy to see, it's sharp and visible even outdoors. Let's say I'm interested in playing back this video, I can just tap on play and it will start playing back. Again, you do have a pretty generous wide screen experience for interacting with your media. This one was recorded at 4K and 24 frames per second, so it seems like that's the max frame rate. It's not going to be quite as smooth as, let's say, 30 or 60 frames per second. If you want that, you have to go slightly lower res to 2K or 1080p to find a higher kind of frame rate. So as shown from those quick sample clips here, overall the quality is actually respectable. I would say it's comparable to a lower priced GoPro device. It's very similar in my opinion to the Xiaomi Mijia camera. With that being said, the Mijia does tend to have higher frame rates if you go up to 4K, and you do have a slightly more detail if I do want to crop into my videos or images. But on here, I would say overall colors look good. With the stabilization turned on, it definitely does help. With the wide angle lens, it does a good job even if you're just walking around without a gimbal. For things like sports and capturing quick documents, images, footage on the go, it seems to do a respectable job. The lens, though, like most action cams, is fixed focus. So if you're trying to capture images really close to the lens, that's where it might struggle a little bit more. But as a whole, again, it works well, has an intuitive software UI, and overall performance of the footage seems to be quite decent. Something I want to point out is that there is a microphone, but like most action cams, the mic is very small, so it does not handle, very windy environments that well. The companion app for smartphone also works quite well if you want to, again, view back images and videos on a larger display. It's pretty typical as far as action cams are concerned, not anything to really write home about. But if you are playing back videos that have been already stored onto the action cam, you're basically transferring that file content over using Wi-Fi. And that's still a process that takes a few seconds. So if you're trying to view back, let's say, a video like this on the phone when you're connected to the app, the buffering is going to take about 30 seconds to 40 seconds depending on the length of the footage. So it's not going to be really quick. So the best solution would just be transferring the file out using micro SD or connecting it to a computer and transferring it out that way. That will give you the fastest, kind of smoothest viewback experience. And here's a quick size comparison with the aforementioned Xiaomi Mijia, the other touchscreen action cam that I have at hand, with again pretty similar 4K performance. In fact, we have the exact same screen size on the back at 2.45 inches, but you can tell how Xiaomi's device is considerably larger in terms of bezel size, making it slightly larger to carry and tote around. Overall, I'd say that this is definitely the best action camera that I've seen from DBPOWER yet, and the fact that it has a touchscreen as well as intuitive software UI is its biggest differentiator with many other 4K cams on the market. Performance really is quite similar to a lot of those other entry-level slash slightly cheaper action cams we've seen of late, but again, having that touchscreen for me at least is really a useful feature for cycling back and forth, for viewing things just without having to use the keys all the time. But it might not be the best for every single scenario. Again, if you are really into intensive sports, underwater, or purposes where you're wearing gloves and can't access the screen, then that's one scenario where you probably would want to still go for a more traditional model. However, overall I like the strides that DBPOWER is going to create more innovation and a more thoughtful design in their products that seem to be unique as well as functioning pretty well for the price. So you can check out more details about this in our official written review, but for now this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. This has been the DBPOWER E7000 Lite 4K Action Cam.